Hi, this is a little demo of RStudio's Markdown document capability. To create a new Markdown document, just go up to the plus sign here in the upper left and select New, and we're going to go to R Markdown. And I'm just going to give it a generic title. Untitled is fine. And in short, a Markdown document is a document like any other text document, but it's something that you and the computer can both read, and the computer will create an output based on the stuff you put in the document, telling it specifically how you want that output formatted and things like that. By default, it'll create an HTML document. I'm just going to hit OK, and it'll go ahead and create my kind of demo shell. And the way it works is there are various tags in the Markdown document that signal to R that this is going to be formatted in a certain way when you put it into an HTML format. It comes with some introductory code when you start it, and it's got a couple pieces of R code in it as well. And the way the R code works, I'm just going to minimize the console here, is that the R code is actually set up in chunks that start with this kind of header, the three kind of slashes, and then it says R, and setup, etc., etc. That kind of defines what's going to go on in this chunk. You're going to be writing some code in R, and the title of this chunk is going to be setup. When I run it, it's going to do this. And this is just something that's going to set up some of the generic options for a Markdown document. Then there's some code here. This double pound sign means that it's going to be a header when you put it into HTML format. And it's going to be a header of size 2, like a header of category 2, and it'll just say R Markdown in the header. Then there's some regular old texts, and when you go ahead and knit this, which is equivalent to converting it to an HTML document, I'm just going to make it a test. Yeah, you have to give it a name, let it basically sort of compile, but it's actually knitting it. It's called knitting, and it'll generate some code in the console for you as it does that. At least it should. Yeah. And there you go. This is the document that we created in HTML format. And you'll see that there's a couple things going on. Here's our title. Here's the header tag, the double pound R Markdown. And there's some other kind of indicators in it. If you put this kind of front caret and then give it a web address and end caret, it'll display that as a web link in your document. You can also use double asterisk to encase something in, and that'll make it bold in the document. And here's the actual code that's in the chunk, and then that's being given out. The code itself is not doing anything really special. It's taking a data set that is available in R's basic package and showing you a summary of it and then doing a plot of it. Now, this is what these following chunks are. So there's a chunk that starts with apostrophe, 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 bracket R, meaning it's going to be a chunk of R code. The name of the chunk is cars. If I'm putting my cursor in there, it's going to say chunk 2, cars. That's the second chunk in the document, and the name of the chunk is cars. You could name it to anything else you want. Cars 2, let's say, and that'll rename it down here in the chunk monitoring section. You can also run a single chunk by using Control Enter. You'll run a single line of code in that chunk, and you'll see the output just as you would if you pushed it in the console. You can also have 2 lines of code in a chunk or more, however many you want. Let's say I wanted to plot cars. I could just run the plot line, and I'll get my scatter plot. That's the default thing. Or I could just hit Control and Enter on this line, number 19, and I'll get the summary again. Or if you want to run the whole chunk, you can hit this little play button, and it'll run everything in the chunk. Or you can just select any location within the chunk and hit Control Shift Enter. It'll run all the lines in that chunk. And in this case, you'll get some output of consular output versus some plotting output. So that's the Cars 2 chunk that I just made. And you'll see there's an additional chunk that they made down here to demonstrate an additional feature of these R blocks. You can turn the echo on or off. So echo equals false means that it won't print out the actual line of code, plot pressure. It'll just print the results and not the actual code itself. So now if I reknit this, you'll see it's putting it all together into an HTML format. So the first chunk has 2 lines, summary cars and plot cars. And the summary, here it is, it shows you the code and the result. And the plot cars shows you the code, shows the result. And the pressure plot is here. And this is a plot that has the echo off, so it's not going to show you the actual code in this section here, but it will show you the results as well. So that's kind of an intro to how to create an R Markdown document. And the idea again is that Markdown has these tags in it that let you customize text for formatting purposes. And it's written in a way that both you and the computer can read it and create a unified output in HTML or PDF or even slideshow format if you want to do that. And the code itself is put into chunks, and between the code you can put your headers and descriptions of what's going on in the next chunk, and then you can determine what kind of output you want and whether code should be included in the output or not. Thank you.